back into the show. This week we are kind of piggybacking in a way off of what Will Walker talked about last week. In the interview we had with Will Walker, he talked about how one of the books that formed the way that he wrote and kind of read things was A Night to Remember by Walter Lourd. And one of the cool things that I thought was that Hannah Randolph and I had sat down probably a month or two before I got the chance to interview Will Walker, and we talked about A Night to Remember by Walter Lourd. Hannah and I both have grown up fascinated with the Titanic. You know, I honestly think that is just something that everyone is fascinated with. You have this great level of achievement. At the time, it was symbolic of human engineering. It was symbolic of British naval power. It was symbolic of the achievement of man. And it all went down in one fateful night on its first voyage. We all know about it. And in A Night to Remember, Walter Lourd uses firsthand accounts to really detail the sinking. When you pick up A Night to Remember, you're not really going to get a lot of narrative about the voyage over, but you will get a lot of narrative about the night of the sinking. And it's just really interesting. If you've never really known a lot about the Titanic, it's going to be probably shocking to you. And I think that you're going to come away really enjoying it. If you are a Titanic fan, I guess, or someone who's, I don't know how to describe that. Someone who's interested in the Titanic, like I have been. There's a lot of things that you've probably heard before, but this is the origin story of a lot of the big legends that we know about, that the true accounts that have happened. I think as someone who enjoys nonfiction, you have to really respect Walter Lourd's craft, and he stays true to the recounting of the survivors and the things that they had to say about it. So, without keeping you waiting, here Hannah Randolph and I sat down and talk about A Night to Remember by Walter Lourd. All right, Hannah. A Night to Remember is a retelling really of the sinking, isn't it? Not of the voyage.
Right.
But just of the sinking. And you and I love the Titanic.
We do.
I enjoyed reading it. I'm glad that I read it. Are you glad that you read it?
I'm glad that I read it. I feel like it combines everything that I've read about the Titanic, like in different places, all in one.
Yeah.
And it's told more like a novel. Mm-hmm. And I think I enjoyed that.
Yeah.
Like a novel retelling.
Yeah. I had read a lot of big reviews, and a lot of people you watch or read about that are big Titanic people, they always talk about A Night to Remember. Mm-hmm. And I watched the movie last year. And
I watched it last night.
Did you like it?
I did, yeah.
I like it, yeah.
It's enjoyable.
Yeah. I think I like the story better than the James Cameron movie, but I like the effects, obviously, on the James Cameron, because it's like modern and feels more real.
For sure.
But I did think that they did a really good job on the movie.
I agree. It seems, well, I mean, it's more realistic.
Yeah. Well, you know, on the movie, they had survivors as like, what is it? They got advice from them. Advisors. Yeah. They were advisors for the shoot, which I thought was really cool. So, yeah, they had a lot of survivor intake, but I really enjoyed. I'm going to watch the movie again, and I'm looking forward to it. So, it was really good.
I hadn't seen it before reading the book, so I enjoyed reading it and then watching it.
Yeah, I think that would. I wish I would have watched it as soon as I had finished reading it, but it's been maybe a week or two for me, something like that. Yeah, so
I finished reading it Sunday night, so
I'm hoping
it was pretty fresh.
I don't know if I'll read it or watch it tonight. Maybe
it's on Tubi.
Oh, is it
for free?
Oh, okay. Tubi. That'd be my third one for the podcast that I picked up from Tubi. So all your movie classics, you know, like A Night to Remember and The Circle.
Yeah. Can find on Tubi.
Find it on Tubi. I think, though, you and I have said the same thing. There really wasn't a lot of new information for us because we've curated so much throughout our lives, but it still was really there were a few things that I was kind of surprised about when I read it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I think I made note. I really liked the details of what happened on the lifeboats.
Oh, yeah.
Like while they were waiting to be picked up. That was new to me. Like hearing that and hearing that there was conflict on some of the boats and that people switched boats.
Yeah.
I liked that part.
And I think too, I mean, I'm sure you've watched the James Cameron one as much as I have. There were a few instances where I was like, oh, James Cameron put this in the movie. So there was a lot that I recognized from that too. And that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
I think for me, one thing I liked, and I told you about this before we recorded, was, it made a lot of stuff seem more real, I guess, kind of like the everyday. I know it was just that one night, but just kind of the plans that they had made before and the plans that they had to cancel or, you know, and stuff like that. It just kind of made that seem more realistic.
Right.
I was also surprised too about, I guess maybe I was naive to this, there were a ton of Americans on the ship. Yeah, I was really surprised about that.
Yeah, I thought that was surprising as well. I also liked how this book really highlighted like the class divide, how it didn't just focus on the first class passengers, but I mean, you really got a picture of how bad the third class had it and how tough it was for them, how tough it would have been for them to be rescued.
Yeah. I also liked how Walter Lourd put in the inquiries how the third class was essentially ignored, that it was just first class. Even the governments, the British and American governments, were more interested in the first class stories. Because he was talking about how the newspapers, of course, were getting the first class stories because that would all people would care about. But even in the inquiries, they were not interested in the third class passenger at all. So I think that, and you know, I had put the note in my notes before I got to that part because I guess he was kind of leading to that point and you could see it coming, but the Titanic really did end kind of that great class. I mean, I know that there's still a class divide today, but not where it was. We get priority in an emergency over you know. Yeah. If we were all on a ship.
I think Walter Lourd worded it something like it would never be the same for first class ever again after the Titanic.
Yeah.
Because that stood out to me. And I think he said that several times throughout the book, that was really the turning point for first class traveling.
Yeah. Why do you think we're so interested in the Titanic? I mean, no, it's not just us. I mean, my brother's into it.
For sure.
A lot of, I mean, just society in general is. Why do you think that is?
I don't know. I mean, I can remember, for me, it started in second grade. Shout out to my second grade teacher, Miss Teeple. She read Tonight on the Titanic, the Magic Treehouse series book to us in second grade. And I can just remember being like, I have to own this book. I loved her reading it, but I wanted my own copy of it. And I reread that book so many times as a kid. And I don't know, like, I don't want to say that the tragedy behind it is what fixated me so much, but I think just like how many people lost their lives on it. Like it seems like such a mass tragedy. And I mean, it almost seems like something you would only see in the movies, but it's something that actually happened.
Yeah. And I think too, when you think about like the Victorian era, it was kind of this was kind of the end of the Victorian era. This really was kind of their like great engineering achievement were these steamships that would cross the Atlantic, you know. I mean, I know at that time we had the great trains and things like that were going on in America, but I guess worldwide you had these steamships, and the Titanic at the time was like the tip of the top for that achievement, and for it all to just be, I don't want to say wasted, but it just was, one night it was gone.
Well, I mean, too, like, this sounds dark and grim, but the irony behind it of it being unsinkable and then its first voyage, it sinks.
Yeah.
And so I just, it has always stood out to me, and it's always something that I've wanted to learn more about. And anytime I see an article about the Titanic, I gravitate towards it, and I want to read it, or a documentary about it. It's just something that seems so unimaginable, but it really happened.
I think, too, I don't know if this is a modern way of thinking, like people our generation, as we review it, but I've noticed more and more people, and myself, talking about how it was like fate. Because if they would have had a delay, just 1 5-minute delay, they would have avoided this iceberg. Or if they would have slowed down just a little bit, like like all of these little things happen perfect. I know that the guy I told you about, the ocean liner designs guy, we watched a video of him the other night, and he was talking about how when Titanic was leaving Southampton, its displacement pulled those ships in, you know, which I had read about, but I had never thought about, because he said it. If that ship would have came out and like scraped the ship, then they would have had to been like, the voyage is off, you know, we've got to get the ship fixed. And then all of this would have been avoided. I don't know. It's just weird how these little bits of fate.
Well, it's funny you bring that up, because my favorite quote in the book actually says, what troubled people especially was not just the tragedy or even its needlessness, but the element of fate in it all. If the Titanic had heeded any of the 6 ice messages on Sunday, if ice conditions had been normal, if the night had been rough or moonlit, if she had seen the berg 15 seconds sooner or 15 seconds later, if she had hit the ice any other way, if her watertight bulkheads had been 1 deck higher, if she had carried enough boats, if the Californian had only come, had any of those ifs turned out right, every life might have been saved. But they all went against her, a classic Greek tragedy. And I actually talked about that with my students yesterday, because we were talking about Romeo and Juliet and fate, and I was asking the kids if they believed in fate or some sort of higher power that controlled our lives. And a lot of them were like, no, you know, we're in control of our lives. And I was like, well, it's funny that, you know, I've just finished this book, and that was towards the end of the book. I had just read that Sunday night, and I said, well, I actually have a quote that I want to share with you, because I'd made note for us to talk about that today. And I read that quote to them, and they were all like, you're right. And
you should have said, even me reading this book.
That's what I said. So I said, so part of me is thinking, I finished this book on Sunday, and I had this activity planned for us today on Monday.
Yeah.
You know, I did this same activity last semester, and I hadn't even read this book yet. So it's crazy that this landed at such a perfect time.
Yeah.
And I was like, fate. And they all just kind of stared at me like, oh my gosh.
It does make you wonder, though, you know, about fate. I don't know how much I mean, I know that, especially on this podcast, we bring up that we believe in Christianity, you know, so I know that we believe that there's a higher power at work, but I don't know if it's like, do you think that fate is something that actually plays into our everyday lives? Because we teach fate a ton.
Oh yeah, for sure. For sure. I mean, I feel like it's definitely a motif that pops up in a lot of our stories that we talk about. I don't know.
Yeah,
I mean, I've always thought about that it's just God's plan.
Yeah.
And that you can't fight God's plan, and that you can try to change what he has planned for you, but, you know, you're just working against him and making it harder.
Sure.
But I don't know.
I don't know.
You know, I
either.
mean, I ask the kids those questions, and I expect them to answer me, but then I don't really know.
And that's a luxury we get as English teachers, because when they ask me what I think, I just say,
does it matter what I think?
I don't know.
Yeah. Or I'll be like, I'm just playing devil's advocate.
They've been asking me in my 4th block, like, is Gatsby this and Gatsby that? And I'll be like, guys, I literally have no clue about Gatsby. I don't know who he is. And they're always like, you've read this like 12 times.
You're like, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I know. I forgot.
Can't spoil it for you.
Yeah. Also, too, that reminds me, though, it always blows my mind. There are a few things, I guess, that I'll talk about that always blow my mind about the sinking of this ship. That book that the guy wrote with the Titan of the ship, it always is like so insane to me that he basically called the shot. You know?
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of chilling a little bit, to be honest, when you go back and look at all the similarities. My wife was kind of naive to all that, and I was like, have you ever heard about the book that was written before the Titanic sinking? And she said no. And so I read that little prologue that Walter Lourd had written, and she was like, "That's eerie." And I said, "Yeah, I know. It's crazy."
And I guess it's just little stuff like that keeps intriguing you about the Titanic and keeps drawing you back in. And I mean, every time that there's new images and new scans of it, it's like, oh my gosh, I don't know why I'm so intrigued by this deteriorating boat.
Well, I think too that it's just a tragedy all in itself. Like the whole thing, like the sinking was tragic, where it fell is tragic. It's so deep, it's so deep. And then the ship is deteriorating. You've got, what's the company called? Titanic Incorporated, who keep going down there, and they're basically just salvaging the ship. And I say salvaging loosely. They're basically like grave robbers, they're taking stuff from the ship. The families are upset. That's tragic. And then you've got it to where it's turned into like a tourist destination. And then you had the tragedy with the submarine. It's just all of it around that surrounds this is just complete tragedy. And I don't know, it makes you wonder, like, is there like a lesson in hubris that this was used to be taught, like all of these things are happening around this ship. It's almost like it's cursed.
For sure.
So
and I mean, I think that by the end of the book, you pretty much walk away with that theme of it being a lesson in hubris. Like, I don't know, I guess what stands out to me is also Bruce Ismay. And I mean, one, he lied about getting on the lifeboat, that there was no more women or children around. And so he snuck on one of those lifeboats. And then when he gets on the Californian, he, or the Carpathia.
No, it's okay.
Sorry. Getting my ships mixed up.
It's fine.
He basically like hides in a private room. He hides from everybody until it's time to get off. And then he lives a life of solitude. And so, I mean, you almost understand that, because it's like, does he feel massive amounts of guilt?
Well, he was crucified by the public when he got back.
For sure. I mean,
I think with Ismay too, though, I think it's easy for us to sit here post tragedy, and even those like or the days after that, and talk about how much of a coward he was to get on the boat. But we don't really know what we would do in that situation. I mean, I would like to think that I would be a brave, I guess for that time period, a brave man, and stay on the ship and wave the ladies off and things like that. But you don't know what you would do in that situation.
That's one thing I was thinking about throughout reading. I mean, it was so easy for me to sit and judge these people who, what they were taking and what they were trying to save before running off, and just the mass amounts of confusion of how serious to take it. Because I think for like a couple of hours, they were like, what? I mean, they don't know how serious to take it. And, the ladies were trying to decide what of theirs to take. And it was so easy to sit back and judge. But at the same time, like, I was trying to think about what would I be like in that situation. I mean, I think I would be terrified.
That's what I'm saying too. Like, I think if I'm honest, if I would have been on the deck and they would have been like, you've got to get in this lifeboat. I
would have been like, yes, put me in there.
And people were like, no, we're not, at that point they were like, no, we're not going to get on there. I would have probably been like, well, all right, I'll hop on here real quick.
Well, you're not going to take it. I'll take it.
Real,
I think I would have been the one that was like sobbing in a mess, like, get me off this boat. I mean, I would have been a mess.
I think it's just it's easy for us to sit and say, well, these guys who wore these ladies' hats to sneak on were cowards and stuff like that. But I mean, what do? I was thinking about that too, because they were literally in the middle. I mean, I know that they were closer to New York, like a day's journey away, but still, you think about how far off of shore that is. They were in the middle of the ocean.
Yeah.
It's pitch black. Once the ship was gone, there was no light, and it's just, that's terrifying. Like, it's easy to say I would do this, but what do you do when you're really in that situation?
Yeah. I also think about, we were talking about once the lights went off, those recent scans that they did, they found evidence that there were crew members down keeping the lights on until the very last second.
Yeah.
And then, that makes me think about in the book how they were talking about how the band played until the last second. Like, gosh, that's just eerie to think about.
Yeah, I know. So kudos to them for being so brave.
I mean, that's
it's terrifying.
Yeah.
I think too, I've been using this for an example a lot lately, but I just noticed how people it's just such a common thing in pop culture, you know, and in like on Encanto, there's a song and she's singing and they have like it says the SS Madrigal, but it looks like the Titanic and it sinks. And then my kids were watching another cartoon and they had made a joke and it was like the Titanic coming and sinking. And I was just thinking, I kind of get it on one extent because we're over 100 years from that. But when you sit and read stuff like this, like survivor accounts, and you really think about the conditions and the loss of life and the situation that they would have been in, it is just horrific, and it's just kind of sad that it has become just kind of a joke in some sense,
I mean, even the Magic Treehouse book that I read as a kid, I mean, that's dark for a kid's book.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, Annie and Jack were trying to escape.
To go down with the ship.
I know, yeah. They were trying to escape the ship. That was their mission, was to get off before it sank. Yeah. Like, that's dark for a kid's book. And
well, you were not kind enough to give my kids a copy of it, and they loved it. And Hollis had brought it to me the other day to read, and I had kind of was flipping through it, and one of the illustrations, they're hanging on to the side and their feet are dangling, and I thought, oh my gosh, like this is pretty intense for a kid's book. Yeah, but I don't know. It's kind of I think we've talked about this at lunch. World War II is kind of getting into that range where it's been so far gone that it's so prevalent still in pop culture that it's almost turning into a joke to this generation, so I don't know how you preserve stuff like that.
How you preserve like the seriousness of it and the impact.
Yeah. Well, and I think too of like the Titanic exhibit in Pigeon Forge, I mean, I think that we've talked about going the next time we go, so this might sound hypocritical, but because my kids have gotten into it for some reason as well. But my wife and I were kind of talking about the other day about how it's turned into just a tourist attraction, a Pigeon Forge tourist attraction.
It's like, as you're going through it, are you really thinking about this was real and that there's still family members alive of people that suffered this? I mean,
well, don't they give you a name too?
They do, and
it's
you find
like a
out
real
at the
passenger's
end
name
if you lived or died.
Which is, I think, in one way, you want to think that they did that with a good heart for remembrance, but at the same time, it's almost like it's a game. Yeah, like, oh, hey, I was this I was Jack Thayer and I survived. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Is that what you do when you get it?
Yeah. I was Bruce Ismay and I tricked people. Yeah.
Yeah. And now that I say that, part of me wants to dress up as Bruce Ismay when I go to the
dress as a woman. And
I should do that.
You should do that.
I'm getting off this boat.
No matter what. Even though I have a beard.
Yeah. Or I can dress up as Captain Smith. Be British.
Yes.
Just keep yelling that.
Yeah.
What do you have from your notes? Because I've got a few things, but I'll let you take a gander at yours.
I feel like I've talked about the big things that I noted. One of the things that I really liked about this book, and I mentioned it earlier, was how it was written and that it was similar to a novel. Like, I don't want to say like thriller-esque, but I mean, it felt a little bit like a thriller because you were so captivated of what's going to happen next to these people, even though you know what happens in the end. Just the way that it was written in that novel form, like I felt very transported to it, which made it, to me, feel real.
Yeah. Well, I think that it just, and there were a ton of characters, quote unquote characters that were in it, but I think that's what I'm saying. It just made you realize I think it's easy to think about how you've got, I think it's easy to group people into survivors and casualties and to group their experience as the same. But I think that made you realize that each person's story that night was completely different.
For sure.
And you just Jack Thayer was mentioned a lot, and he's kind of one of the more famous survivors, but he wasn't really like the key focal point. There were just people all around and the officers, and I really liked how he got into the collapsibles, which, I mean, I know that we had read about that, but just especially the one that had flipped over, just how those guys had survived it. And was it Lightaller that was the one that was like, lean this way, lean that way? I was thinking, man, when they saw the Carpathia and they was talking about how exhausted they were, I was thinking, I bet that they were exhausted to be trying to keep their balance all night.
Yeah. But I don't know. I also really respect Walter Lourd and the research he had to do with this, because I feel like, I mean, he had to do all of these interviews. He had so many true accounts, and then he also had very technical research on the ship and accurate accounts of the time that all of this happened, but it was told in such an interesting way that it didn't feel nonfiction. I mean, I'm not typically one to lean into nonfiction, but this one, I mean, it held my attention. But it also, I'm very fixated, fascinated with the Titanic.
I think you'll like Dead Weight.
That's on my list.
Yeah, because Larson, even more than Walter Lourd, it feels like a novel as opposed to just, which I know that they are novels, but you know what I'm trying to say, a fictionalized version. So, and then it's the Lusitania, which is really interesting.
I also, talking about the Carpathia, I thought it was interesting how the passengers on the Carpathia weren't really sure what was going on with the new passengers. They were like, what's happened?
Where do these people come from?
Where are these people? Why do they look so tragic? Why do they look so sad? They were very confused, and the first class passengers on the Carpathia were kind of looking down on people who had been first class passengers on the Titanic. Not really understanding they had been through.
What they had gone through that night. I did like those parts, because that was kind of things that I didn't really know, was like the inner workings of that. And I mean, you knew that the Carpathia had come, but I didn't really realize how close that they were to hitting a few icebergs to get there, and the danger that they went to get there. I did know about the Olympics saying, hey, we can come, and then being like, no, let's not do that. Which I think that would be kind of crazy for that to. Can you imagine that, going through that, and then here's like a ghost pulling back? That would be traumatic.
It would be.
But some things that I've put here, there's a few things that always amaze me about this story. I talked about how, I've got here, it's amazing how many people just flat out refused a lifeboat. That always amazes me every time. I didn't know that the Titanic had turned towards the Californian, because they were tracking it, and then they said it looked like it had turned towards them. And I didn't know that. But it always blows my mind that they just sat there and watched. That they just sat. It always blows my mind, because they're even I was telling Mary Beth about it. The guy at one point that kept watching to the binoculars was like, it looks like its back end's out of water. And it's like, why are you all not doing something? You're just sitting there watching it. And then when it sank, they were kind of like, oh, she just went over the horizon. No, what are you doing? It always blows my mind about how they just didn't act. They didn't think, well, why don't we just kind of go check? He even talked about, he was flashing his Morse lamp, and I guess that they were so far apart that it was hard to see that. And he was like, I think that they're flashing me a message. And why are they throwing a party on deck? Why are they shooting rockets?
And they were just like, I just think that's normal.
Well, the captain kept saying, what color is it? All right.
It's fine. They're fine. I wonder what those people, how they lived with it afterwards.
I don't know. Well, I think that if I remember correctly, the American inquest, they were trying to present criminal charges to the captain of the ship.
Yeah.
And I want to think that the British government kind of protected him from that. And there have been people that try to justify their actions on the Californian, but I think when you read it and you see the evidence, it's just kind of like,
what were you doing?
Yeah, why didn't you wake up your wireless operator?
Yes.
Why didn't you get someone?
He was tired. He worked a 14-hour shift. He was tired.
Yeah.
It's like,
no. Well, and that one guy kind of reminded me of something that I would do, because he was like an amateur on the wireless, and he was like, went to sit down to turn it on, and he was like, I don't know what I'm doing. And then he got up and left. Yeah. I was like, oh, I can relate to that guy. Yeah. But I mean, I don't know. It always amazes me that they did nothing. Like they literally did nothing. They tried the Morse lamp, so I guess that they did the bare minimum, but no one checked in, nothing. Yeah. And then the next morning they were kind of like, well, let's just move on. Yeah. It's just kind of crazy. But I have two here. I can't tell if I think the officers were playing it too cool and that caused a carelessness, or if they did exactly what they should and the hubris of the first class passengers led them to being so careless. Because it did seem like that, I don't know, and again, we don't know what we would do in this situation, but I did feel like it felt so unorganized, so one side, Murdoch's side of the ship was doing it one way, Lighthauler's side of the ship was doing it another way. Some people didn't know where to go. Some people were like, I'm just going back to my room.
It was mass chaos. I mean, that part was stressful to me.
Yeah.
But I mean, also, like you said, it's easy for us to look back, and I mean, I can't imagine, because they didn't think it was going to happen. Yeah. And it's one of those situations, and I feel like we have situations in our job even that, you can make plans for, but then if it actually happened, I feel like it would be mass chaos.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it goes in those active shooter drills.
That's what I was thinking of. Like, I feel like we can make plans for if there was a school shooter, and you can see, like...
Well, every school wants to think it wouldn't happen here.
Yeah.
And
just like every ship thinks we're not going to sink.
Yeah.
Every plane thinks we're not going to crash.
Yeah.
And so when it actually is happening, I feel like it's a little bit like, ooh. Yeah. It's kind of how I feel when it comes to CPR. I think I would be terrified to actually have to give CPR.
Would you be the Californian in CPR? Looks like this guy's trying to say something.
Yeah. Is he joking?
Oh, no, he's just taking a nap. No, he went to sleep.
Yeah. Okay, no, yeah. Or I'd get down there and be like, I think I can do this. Oh, yeah, no, I don't know how to do this.
That would be me.
Yeah.
Oh, how did I do this? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that would be me. I'd be like, I know you're supposed to...
What song am I supposed to sing while I do these compressions?
So I hope you never need CPR and I'm the only person around, because sorry, bud.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Just let me go. I did think it was interesting that there is no account of the breakup. And that's something that I've kind of gotten fascinated with lately, because again, my wife was not very into the Titanic, and then she married me, who I spent years reading about it and watching movies and documentaries and videos, And so I try not to let my nerd hang out too much, but where I read this book, we've kind of been watching stuff lately, and that's what I was telling her. Like, it's just, that to me is so interesting that you've got such a big ship and it broke in half, and we've got physical evidence of that, but no one knows how, and even some survivors were still like, up until their death, they were like, it did not break apart, and it's just, to me, it's just kind of crazy that you've got such a large of it. It would almost be like, and this may be a little dark, but it would almost be like on 9/11, someone being like, well, I mean, the tower, it didn't fall the way that the videos say that it fell. It fell this way. It fell backwards, and being like, and if I need to send you that video where the Ocean Liners designs guy recreates what he thinks it would look like, because it would have been hard to see
for sure,
because it was so dark. I don't think that's something he talks about a lot, is there was no moon.
I mean, you're out in the middle of the ocean.
You don't realize how dark it was,
right?
You could really only see like silhouettes, and so I get that, because, and that's I know I've joked about this being my dissertation, But I have thought about it because
I feel like every time you joke about it, you're actually getting more serious about it.
Yeah. Well, I have to research something that media has impacted.
Yeah.
And I think this is something that media has impacted because when we watched James Cameron, I thought for sure like it was standing straight up, it broke, all that stuff. But when they do these recreations now, you've got some of the theories are it didn't get that high out of the water, and when it broke, it was like so subtle that you wouldn't have noticed it, which I think is probably true. But we have all these representations of this breakup, and that's why I've thought about doing my dissertation on that, because it's things that I'm interested in. But the reason I was interested that there was no breakup theory in this is because he does mention Jack Thayer, not a lot, but often.
Yeah.
And Jack Thayer was like the person that started like, hey, this ship broke apart, because I can still remember the drawings. And he had the V.
Yeah.
Where the front came up out of the water too, and that's a theory too that people are like, what do they call that? The V breakup. Yeah. And I just thought it was interesting that Walter Lourd did not mention that at all.
Okay, so we're getting into this. Have you seen that there's a follow-up book, The Night Lives On?
I've actually got that somewhere, and I don't know where it's at.
Okay. We need to read it.
I know. When I was like 12 or 13 or 14, when I was like really into it, the Titanic stuff, I was just anything I could consume Titanic, I was. We went to a bookstore in Gatlinburg, and The Night Lives On was there, and I just grabbed it because I was like, I want to read this.
You're like, yeah. So, I mean, it came out in 1976. I wonder if it talks more about that.
I don't know. It's got to, right?
It has to. I mean, that's...
But Robert Ballard had not discovered it yet, and that was really when the theories really started coming out, because they were like, these things are 2 miles apart.
Yeah.
So, right? Is that how far apart? Or is it like a mile? They're far apart.
Yeah.
I know that.
Yeah.
Yeah. 2,000 feet, so half a mile. They're half a mile apart, so not 2 miles. It's 2 miles deep.
Yeah.
But I just thought that was interesting. No breakup, because I'm pretty sure that Jack Thayer was telling them on the Carpathia about that he drew that in the stateroom when he was. So I just thought that was really interesting.
I have The Night Lives on my list now because I'm interested to see, with it being a follow-up, what new information like he learned from writing A Night to Remember to that one.
When you watch the movie A Night to Remember, it doesn't break up either. It just slides right in there.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. It is interesting how I don't know. It just interests me that there's so many different theories. And even James Cameron had, which I think is interesting that he claims he's like a Titanic expert, and he had his theory in the movie. And then in the Nat Geo documentary, he's like, this is my new theory.
Yeah.
Which is cool that he thinks about it that much. But I just think it's interesting.
He's one of us.
I know. But he's got money to actually go down in a rural sub.
He really can get into it.
That's another thing
He's
too.
He's like, oh, you're going to do it for your dissertation? Cute.
That's cute. I did it for a Blockbuster.
Yeah. Cute. Yeah. I've made multiple documentaries about it.
Have you seen my dissertation? It's got Leonardo DiCaprio and Kate Winslet in it.
He's like, man. Yeah, you're different.
Man, young Drew had it bad for Kate Winslet. I'll say that.
Young Hannah had it bad for Leo. And hey, another Titanic Romeo and Juliet connection.
Oh, yeah.
Man, talking about fate.
That's true. Yeah.
Man. Well, it was meant to be.
There's the fan theory that Jack Dawson was Jay Gatsby.
Yes.
Which I'm starting to believe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good theory. I've seen that.
I like that, yeah.
Yeah. I like that idea, too. I like it better than him not being able to fit on the door.
Oh, didn't they do that on Mythbusters? And
they did.
He could have gotten
He could have, yeah. That was just her first class coming out in her.
You know that there's a theory that he was a figment of her imagination.
I've seen that too, yeah.
She was trying to get out of this marriage. She wanted to be in it so bad, which Billy Zane is so good in that movie. I think that he's underrated in the movie.
Oh, I agree.
Yeah, and he's a Powerball,
Yeah.
He was wearing a wig in that movie too. But man, he's so good in that.
Yeah.
Oh man.
I think he's a great actor.
I've got who I'm going to do my thank you as.
See, I've really been thinking about that, and I've been struggling with.
I'm going to be Cal Hockley.
I don't know. I may have to bow out of this one.
No, you can't. You've got to. You got to pick someone. Do you have anything else, though, before we kind of head for our bow dips underwater here?
No.
I enjoyed the book.
I did too.
Yeah.
I'm happy I read it.
I am too.
It was a quick, easy read too.
It was easy.
Like it was not, like I said, I do not tend to go to nonfiction.
Yeah.
Because I feel like with nonfiction, I get stuck in it. And like I hit boring points and I just want to lay it down and I have a hard time picking it back up. But I feel like with this one, I did not get stuck at any point. And I mean, it was like once I started reading it, I just sped through it.
Yeah.
I mean, I really read it in about, I started it one day and I had read a little bit, but when I picked it back up Friday, I read it, most of it Friday evening, and then a little bit Saturday, and then the rest of it Sunday.
I think for me, I would say if you're a Titanic junkie and you've not read it, you should read it. However, I do think that there were times that I was kind of slugging through it because I thought, this is no new information. Yeah.
But also at the time that it was written.
Sure. Yeah.
Like, I get why it is still in print.
Yeah.
Like, I get why it is still a must read for people.
It's still like the de facto go-to.
Yeah. I mean, when you look up books about the Titanic, this is one of the first ones that pops up.
Yeah.
And people constantly recommend it. Have you... I think it's called On a Sea of Glass or Sea of Glass.
I've heard of it, but I've not read it.
I've heard of it, but I've not read it either. But when I went to order this one, that popped up underneath it, and I added it to my list.
Yeah.
But it's another one that people rave about with Titanic.
I kind of want to read that conspiracy book that the guy wrote where they switched the Olympic and the Titanic and purposefully sunk it.
Let's do a conspiracy.
Oh, we could.
Yeah.
That we would... We'd pull in the boomers with that one. The boomers love it. That's what I said to my class yesterday. I was pulling out the Shakespeare conspiracies, you know. I said, you Zoomers and boomers love your conspiracies, so here you go. Here's a couple conspiracies for you. And now I've lost all my baby boomer generation listeners.
Canceled again.
Yeah, again. Man. No wonder my ratings are so low. I would say if you're a Titanic junkie, you should read it, but there are moments where you're probably going to be like, I've already heard all this stuff. I think if you're a Titanic novice, you definitely should read it. And I think if you are a history buff, you should read it.
For sure.
And then I think if you are like, I've never really been interested in the Titanic, I think you should give it a try. Yeah, it's a short book. What was it, like 140 pages or something like that? Yeah.
Quick read.
Easy to read.
Yep.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
There's nothing about this story that's not interesting.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
And you don't have to worry about the ins and outs of like Harlan and Wolff building it. And
yeah. I mean, it starts with the sinking.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that you don't have to worry about like the technical aspects of it, really. It
definitely gives you the most interesting part of it. I mean, the most intriguing, like...
What brings everybody to the table, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
I was going to ask you this too, because I was thinking about this, and I've kind of thought about it too, because I think that the guy I'll just give him a shout out. The Ocean Liners, his name's Mike Brady. I enjoy watching his stuff. If you're into that stuff, he's a good watch because he's got so many videos, but all of them are really long because he's very detailed, which is good. And he had talked about this in an episode, and I hadn't really thought about it before, but if the Titanic had have made it back to New York, would we even know about it? You know?
Right.
And I don't think that we would, to be honest with you, because you think about the Olympic, and it had a long career. You know, I think that they scrapped it in the 30s.
Well, I mean...
And nobody talks about it. Go ahead,
I feel like you wouldn't know about the Californian or the Carpathia either. Yeah. I mean, because... we only know about them because we associate it with the Titanic.
Right, yeah. And the same thing with the Olympic, you know, if it wasn't for the Titanic, we wouldn't have no clue.
For sure.
I do think that we would have an idea about these things because that was such a space race type of thing during that time period,
for sure.
You know, because Germany was trying to be the fastest, and that was like World War I was on the verge, or it was on the horizon, and the relations were tense. I was going to ask you though, do you think that if the Titanic had have made it, that the Lusitania would be the thing that everybody's obsessed with, because I think that they would be, because that is tragic too when you read it, and it's sank in like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
So yeah.
No, I think you're right.
Yeah, I think people would be obsessed with it instead.
Yeah.
And I think that it gets overlooked because the Titanic is so huge, such a huge disaster. I don't think people realize what a disaster that was.
I think you're totally right on that one. Like, you've nailed that one. Yes.
Well, and that's why I'm excited for you to read Dead Wake, because it's where the Titanic is tragic, and so is the Lusitania. There are so many like inside politics that are with the Lusitania. Like, there's a lot of people that think that the British government, Winston Churchill, used it as a sacrificial lamb to get America to come, because there were a lot of Americans on board with it.
Oh gosh.
And they were trying to get it to be a sacrificial lamb. Yeah. Kind of like they think Churchill did with Pearl Harbor.
Yeah.
You know? And so, I don't know, there's just a lot of like inner politics that go, and it's just, I don't want to say it's more intriguing, but it's definitely, you're kind of like, whoa, this was a huge deal. When you read it, you don't really realize that. But I think it's because the Titanic disaster is so huge.
I'm going to see if Hunter will read that one, too.
Oh, yeah. I think he would like, if he likes history.
Shout out to Hunter.
Yeah, shout out. Patreon shout out.
One of your top listeners.
Yeah. Thank you, Hunter. Thank you. Should we give a fake Patreon list here really quick? I'm going to shout out to Hannah Randolph. I'll give a shout out to Emily Barnes. I'm going to give a shout out to Jade Bumelo. I'm going to give a shout out to Harley Young and Aubrey Simmons. Josh Haston, always give him and Alice a shout out. Dalton Bain. My wife, Mary Beth, she doesn't listen. Who would you like to shout out?
Well, I'm also going to shout out Hannah Randolph.
Okay, I'll take that one from you.
Yeah, that's okay. That's okay. Shout out to my mom, Sonia Hawkins. I got her listening to your podcast too. So she's a big reader.
Oh,
yeah. So she enjoys listening to your podcast as well. So there you go. They're my shout outs.
Thank you.
Yeah. Shout out Owen Ferris. Shout out Owen Ferris if you're listening.
If he's still listening.
Yeah, if you still listen, like
Courtney Ferris's mom. I don't know if Courtney listens every night. She's been on the show. So,
yeah. Owen said he liked our Hunger Games podcast, so shout out Owen Ferris.
Yeah.
Woo-woo.
Shout out to the city of Knoxville for being strong and listening.
Absolutely.
Podcast
what is it, 14, 15?
Something like that, yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Shout out to Pikeville, because that's where my family's from, and I don't know if they were like, oh, this is a Haston, and we're going to listen, but shout out to Pikeville, Tennessee.
That's right.
This is getting off track.
Yeah. So what do you rate this book?
Thank you. You're a good host. I think I gave it 4 stars.
I gave it 4 stars.
Yeah.
For sure. I mean, and I think if I was a novice Titanic person, it would be a 5-star.
Maybe. Yeah. I think that, you're probably right.
I think like if I didn't know so much about the Titanic already.
Yeah.
I would have been like, man, this book, like, I learned a lot. Yeah. But I think I had to knock it down because
I think that's a good thought. It depends on where you're at with stuff, right? Because we know, we feel like we knew most of this information.
It's a great book.
Yeah. I mean,
it's a great book.
So for us, we're like, well, it's a 4-star because it was really solid. It was what we were expecting. It lived up to its reputation. If I was new to all of this, I would probably be like, that was interesting, you know, but so probably like a 3 or 4. Yeah. But if I'm like just now getting into it, like if my children were teenagers and were able to read this on their own and they were at the interest that they're in right now, it just probably blow their mind. Yeah. Yeah. So they'd probably be like a 5 stars. Yeah. That's interesting to think about that. Yeah. I wonder if that's how all nonfiction fall. Like, I'm really into this, you know? Yeah. 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 I don't know. What about 1 to 20?
That one's hard for me for some reason. I don't know. It's just such a big scale. I'm
going to say a 15.
See, I was thinking 14 or 15.
Yeah, because the 16 would be like a full 4. Yeah. And because if you have a 17, you're a 5. So I would say like a 15. Yeah. Because I'll go with a solid
15. Yeah, I did too.
I really enjoyed it. I did too. And there were some things that I were kind of like, I didn't know that. Maybe like a couple of things. Yeah. But yeah. So that was cool. How much would you pay for this at McKay's? Because I have an idea on this one.
$4?
Yeah. I think so. When I put this on my list to read, it's been on my reading list for about a year now. It was like $10 or $12 on Amazon, which is not really, I guess, a lot. But I wanted to see if I could find it at McKay's for cheaper, and I really couldn't figure out what section it would be in, because I looked at nonfiction novels and it wasn't there, and I looked in world history and it wasn't there, and I kind of was like, I don't know where to look for this at, because it wouldn't be in true crime, you know. So I had trouble looking for it, but I was always prepared to pay about $4 or $5 because I thought if it's like $6 or $7, then I'm probably just going to buy it brand new. Yeah, you know. But yeah, I would say $4 or $5 for it. Yeah. Yeah. I think, again, if you like this book or if you like the Titanic, I would recommend Dead Wake to those who are listening who are interested in these types of things. If you're like, I'm going to read a Not to Remember, I would encourage you to read a Dead Wake. It's a lot more dense, I'll say that though, so get ready for that. Where this was 140 pages, I think this one's like 350, 400, so be prepared for that. And Larson's very detailed, so get ready for that.
And I've had it on my list for a while, and I think that's what stopped me several times. You've said it's dense, and I'm like,
Well, the thing about Larson, though, is with Walter Lourd, it was just a straightforward story.
Right.
And Larson always tries to weave like 2 stories, or in this case,
I like.
3.
I like about
so
that.
there's more than just the ship going on, but the Lusitania is definitely the centerpiece of the book. So
yeah, I like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I need you to read it so we can do a month of Larson.
That's right.
That would be cool. I want to do that. Yeah. All right, you have to say thank you.
You go first.
Okay, I'm going to do mine as Cal Hockley from the Titanic. This is one of my favorite scenes from Cal Hockley. I put the thank you in the coat. I put the coat on her! How was that?
That was good. That was good. I'm struggling with this one. Okay. I don't know how to top that.
That was a good one, wasn't it?
That was good. That was good.
This is the best segment of my show.
Oh, man. Okay.
You could do...
I'm going to be Bruce Ismay because... Okay. Okay, ready? I'm looking around.
Ooh.
There's no women. There's no children around. Thank you. I'll take this seat on the lifeboat. Thank you. So that
was a good one.
Yeah.
Oh, no one's looking.
Thank you. Yeah. There's nobody around. What do you mean? That's not a woman over there.
I'll do Jack when he pulls Rose into the gym, because Leo always whispers, "Thank you, Rose. Thank you, Rose." How was that?
That was good.
Never let go. Okay, I'm going to do another one. Okay. You ready for this one?
Ready.
This is Rose.
Are you about to do a paint me like...
This is Rose floating on the boat. Thank you. That was a whistle.
So who's going to podcast the movie with you? Because I think you want to talk about the movie.
I want my brother to, because we both grew up obsessed with the Titanic. He probably was because I was. There's a few things that he got into because I'm the oldest, and it was kind of like you have to hear me talk about this all the time.
Yeah.
But there was one summer when I was in high school that he and Josh Haston and Josh's brother Bradley and myself, we watched the Titanic 8 days in a row. They came to my house 8 days in a row.
Oh my gosh.
And we watched the Titanic 8 days in a row, and we would sit, and I think I told you this, we got to where we were taking notes, and we were like, oh, did you see that? That was foam. Oh, what's this person's slide right here? Oh, there's shirts on back. Like, we were like really getting into like the deep stuff.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I think what I'm going to do is have him watch the Titanic and watch A Not to Remember and pick his favorite.
That'd be good.
Because do you know what? I think I honestly, here's another reason why I like A Not to Remember is I watched it with my kids.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's tragic and it's tough to watch, but it's
wholesome. Well, I don't want to say wholesome, but I mean,
How can we describe it? I didn't have to worry about boobies.
Yeah, I guess that's what I was meaning. Like,
You don't have to worry about sex scenes.
Yeah, I was about to say, you don't have a massive sex scene.
There wasn't any language in it, you know, and it was good to watch with the kids, but it was still good for me to watch. You know, I think as adults, sometimes we can think that cheapens our experience, but it was still really good.
Yeah.
And I think that it portrayed like the officers a lot better, you know, like Murdoch. That's another tragedy in itself, the way that James Cameron portrayed him. And I know his family is still just pissed off about that. And they rightly should be, I think. Yeah. But yeah, I like that they portrayed Murdoch better. Lighthauler was the main character of that movie, right? Or was it Murdoch?
I think it was
Lighthauler. Yeah. And so I enjoyed that of it. I just thought that, I don't know, I think that if I had to pick one to watch, I would pick A Night to Remember.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
Just because it was more authentic.
Yeah.
But if I had to pick based off of effects, I would definitely pick because I know that
Titanic is cinematic.
Yeah, I was going to say, I know that I'm continuing on here, but my favorite parts of the Titanic are when they're just like showing it in the ocean and stuff, because I mean, like, that's the closest we're ever going to get to seeing it.
For sure.
You know, and so I just think that that's cool. Until the Chinese guy builds Titanic 2.
That's right.
I've told my wife, though, because she's wanting to go on a cruise, and I said, I want to take, like, Queen Mary 2. I want to do an Atlantic voyage. And she's like, why would we do that? I don't know.
And you're like, come on.
Let's go. They got lifeboats. They got plenty of them now.
That's right. That's right.
I do think one of the greatest tragedies, though, in all of this is that they scrapped the Olympic, because they kept, Queen Mary the first one, and that's in LA, right?
Yep.
And it's a hotel. Can you imagine if they had the Olympic? Can you imagine that being a floating hotel? Oh my gosh. You'd be making money hand over fist.
Tourist attraction.
Yeah, you'd be making money hand over. Oh man, I cannot.
Drew said I'd be throwing money at you.
I would go.
Yeah.
For sure.
Oh my gosh.
That's one of those things where, like, you think about an experience that you couldn't put a price on. Yeah. I think that that's one that I would be like,
for sure.
We're going, and the cost of it, we're just going to have to eat it.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, that would be.
It's just crazy.
Yeah.
That they scrapped that they didn't have the foresight to think we should probably keep this thing around, you know?
Man.
But do you know that the inside of one of the smoking rooms is in a restaurant in Canada? So
I didn't know that.
So you can go up there and kind of look at that.
Hey, there you go.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Bon voyage.
Hey, if you're a fan of good conversations and fresh takes on literature and the kind of school stories that stick with you long after the bell rings, well, I've got a podcast for you. It's called With Honors, and it's where my high school students have taken the microphone, not just to analyze books or talk about our lessons, but to reflect on what we've learned this year, have conversations about what surprised them, how our literature and classroom experiences connect to their real lives. And we talk about everything from symbolism and Poe to the pros and cons of class pets, and all through the voices of smart, curious students who have learned to speak their minds. New episodes drop regularly every week, and every one is a snapshot of what it looks like when students take ownership of their own learning and have a little fun while they're at it. You can find With Honors on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and our YouTube channel, so check them out.